I'm Wynter, 28, a top sales rep. I drove 5 hours home for Christmas, seeking simple family approval. Instead, the moment I walked in, my sister Madison shrieked, tearing open a $10,000 all-inclusive Europe trip package, paid for by mom and dad. The entitlement was deafening. My own gift? A book, Financial Planning for Dummies, and a $50 bond certificate. This stark precision in their judgment confirmed the harsh truth. My financial solvency and professional triumph meant nothing compared to their favoritism. When a book on financial literacy is your reward for being a top sales rep, you realize your legacy is toxic. The question is, do I finally walk away from the family dynamics built on this subtle betrayal, or do I stay and accept the pain? To understand the gift disparity, you need the harsh truth about our family dynamics. Madison was the golden asset, her failures were opportunities, and her entitlement was seen as charm, despite her lack of solvency. My role, Wynter the sales rep, was the financial skill used to prop up their narrative, yet my triumph was always met with suspicion. Mom's quiet judgment implied my success lacked class. Their constant need for approval defined the air I breathed in that house, fueled by Madison's effortless pretense. The stage was set for betrayal long before I drove home. But if your family's judgment is always fixed against your skill, how do you gather the determination to finally break that toxic connection without completely tearing yourself apart? My role in the family dynamics was simple, the one who earns just enough. Despite my real solvency and professional triumph achieved with pure skill, Madison's casual pretense always got the spotlight. My success was dismissed as mere luck for my apartment expenses. The comparisons were constant, fueled by mom's subtle judgment. They implied my integrity and professional determination were secondary to Madison's inherited entitlement. This emotional betrayal was a slow burn of pain where my success was only measured by their lack of approval. I spent years structuring my career strategy just to earn their simple nod. That $50 bond was a symbol of their continuous, crushing blame, a literal assessment of my worth. I was tired of trying to sell myself to my own family. When your own family reduces your professional triumph to a symbol of blame, the real question emerges: do I finally use my skill and determination not to earn their approval, but to execute a definitive strategy for my own freedom? I picked up the small package, still clinging to a sliver of holiday hope. I tore the paper with meticulous precision, half expecting a ticket stub or a voucher, something to match the scale of Madison's lavish asset and finally earn their approval for my professional triumph. Inside, a paperback copy of a personal finance guide and the pathetic $50 bond certificate. The harsh truth of the difference in entitlement hit me like a physical judgment. This wasn't a gift, it was a clear message about my perceived solvency, or lack thereof. When your top sales performance is rewarded with a condescending book on money management, you know the betrayal is intentional. But how do you maintain your integrity and professional determination when your own family's judgment is designed to inflict pain? My mother saw the book and chuckled. "We just worry, sweetie. Madison has a better handle on her finances, but Wynter, bless her heart, needs some precision. You know, with all that sales skill, you still manage to waste your asset. That little bond will help you learn solvency." The laughter was directed at me, a clear, humiliating judgment. It wasn't just a joke, it was a public declaration of the toxic family dynamics. My mother was using my professional triumph, my determination to earn my own way, as the punchline. This act of betrayal fueled a deeper pain. My success was trivialized, reinforcing that Madison's inherited entitlement was the only thing worthy of their approval. When the family judgment against you is public, you have two choices: accept the pain and the blame, or execute a decisive strategy for self-determination. How much longer must I endure this toxic pretense before my integrity finally demands I walk away? I closed my eyes, remembering the late nights. I didn't get a $10,000 trip through inherited entitlement. I earned my solvency through relentless determination. My skill and precision put me at the top 1% of the firm. That professional triumph was my true asset, a proof of my integrity that no condescending book could diminish. Their calculated judgment and Madison's effortless pretense were continuous emotional betrayal. They could offer blame, but they couldn't take my success. Deep down, I clung to the hope that my determination and ethical dynamics would eventually force their respect. Maybe I just needed a better strategy to communicate my worth. When your internal determination is strong, but your external strategy still seeks the approval of those who only offer betrayal, you're trapped. Will Wynter realize that the only person whose judgment matters is her own? Or will this persistent pain keep her tied to a toxic legacy? Every achievement, earned through integrity and precision, was ignored in favor of Madison's potential, based on their inherent judgment. It was a massive emotional betrayal, a clear message that my self-made asset was never enough to earn their approval. The toxic family dynamics were suffocating, turning my pain into deep resentment. I realized then that my strategy needed to shift entirely. The goal wasn't their approval, but my freedom. I would no longer fight their judgment. I would simply remove myself and build my own legacy. This was the moment of quiet, definitive self-determination. When you realize your determination will never earn the respect of your family, only your absence will. But what kind of ultimate strategy does a top sales rep execute to achieve total freedom and prove the value of her integrity against a lifetime of toxic judgment? Wynter, babe, that book is a joke. Your solvency and professional triumph are real. Your skill and precision are worth more than any inherited asset or their fleeting approval. They give her trips because she can't buy them herself. You, my love, have total determination and true integrity. His unwavering support was the new light I needed. David reminded me that my value was defined by my self-determination, not their pretense. This conversation solidified my strategy. The ultimate act of revenge stories wasn't confrontation, but building a life of absolute freedom without their interference. With David's connection providing the necessary validation, I finally saw the path to freedom. But how exactly does a top sales rep execute her ultimate strategy to cut a toxic family legacy built on years of betrayal and entitlement, and make it the most powerful move of her life? David and I didn't need their approval or inherited entitlement to dream big. Our real asset was the Detroit penthouse, bought with our combined solvency and skill. Our connection, built on mutual integrity, contrasted sharply with the toxic dynamics inside. My professional triumph finally had a shared purpose. We planned our own Europe trip, self-funded, no strings attached. This was my new strategy: use my determination and precision not to chase their love, but to achieve absolute freedom. I accepted the harsh truth that my legacy would be self-made success, and their judgment lost all power. The contrast was blinding. They rewarded Madison's pretense with a gift. David and I were building a new beginning. The pain of their betrayal transformed into fuel for my next move. I was ready to use my sales skill for the most important negotiation of my life. The plan for total freedom was set, backed by love and my own solvency. But what happens when you use your most formidable professional skill, closing the deal, to permanently close the door on a toxic legacy? And how will my family react when I use my top sales rep determination to reject their final, belittling judgment? My new strategy required the cold calculation of a closing deal: identify the pain points, present the facts, and define the non-negotiable terms, my freedom. I packed my bags, detaching from their legacy, leaving the $50 bond and book as a silent visual judgment. My determination was rooted in my integrity, not their shallow approval. This was about reclaiming the power stripped away by their gifts. The real conflict was their loss of control over their asset, me. My freedom was paramount. I rehearsed the exact words, ensuring they were delivered with the calm precision I use for a multi-million-dollar deal. No shouting. Just facts about their constant betrayal and the harsh truth of their favoritism. I confirmed the moving schedule. Every detail supported my emotional determination. I finally accepted the harsh truth. No success would earn the authentic approval of people who only respected inherited entitlement. The $50 bond was their final insult. My departure was my final counteroffer. I walked back toward the living room, focused entirely on the strategy. My true asset was my integrity, skill, and solvency. They were relaxed, but the top sales rep was about to execute the most important self-determination plan of her life. I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, Dad, Madison. We need to talk about my future legacy and the difference between entitlement and earned triumph. The stage is set. The final negotiation is underway." But when a lifetime of pain and betrayal explodes into one pivotal conversation, will Wynter's professional precision hold, or will her family's toxic dynamics finally succeed in crushing her determination to achieve absolute freedom? I met my father's final threat, losing the family name, with absolute stillness. That name only brought a legacy of pain and blame. The $50 bond was still on the counter. With the calm precision of a closed-door executive decision, I simply turned my back. That single movement was the ultimate act of self-determination, the decisive shift in the toxic family dynamics. I walked through the living room, past the tree laden with Madison's expensive gifts, her asset built on inherited entitlement. My silence was my new power. I was no longer seeking their approval. Every step was a step toward my Detroit apartment, toward my solvency, and toward the true professional triumph I had earned with my own skill. Wynter, wait. It's Christmas. Don't let a misunderstanding about a silly book ruin our connection. Come back, sweetie. We didn't mean any blame. We need you here to complete the family dynamics. Her voice cracked, a final, desperate attempt at emotional manipulation and pretense. I heard the cracks in her voice, but I refused to let it penetrate my shield of determination. My heart ached, but my mind saw the harsh truth. She wasn't missing me, she was missing the role I played in their dynamics. The pain of the betrayal was too deep. "Oh, let her go, Mom. She's always been so dramatic about her little skill and money. She'll be back when the Detroit rent is due and she needs our help with her low solvency." Some people just crave attention and blame everyone else for their lack of a real legacy. Madison's voice, thick with entitlement, was the final confirmation. It was a perfect strategic cue. I didn't engage. Engaging would be an emotional error, a lapse in my strategy. I grabbed my pre-packed bag by the front door, the embodiment of my financial freedom, earned by my own determination. As I opened the door, I took a final glance at the $50 bond lying next to the finance book. That visual contrast of judgment and betrayal was etched into my mind, a reminder that there was no connection worth the price of my integrity. The cold Ohio air hit me, and for the first time that night, it felt clean. This quiet exit was my greatest professional triumph, a perfectly executed strategy of self-determination. I pulled the heavy front door shut. The sound was not a slam of anger, but a soft, decisive click of finality. A clear, audible boundary. As I drove away, I left behind a legacy of expectation and entitlement, trading it for the harsh truth of independence. My new strategy was simple. I was finally building a new beginning based on my own rules and my own integrity. The battle of the dynamics was over, but the war for my complete freedom was just beginning. Next, I needed to solidify this monumental life shift with David and face the bittersweet reality of my newfound independence. The pain was subsiding, replaced by an exciting suspense. The door is closed, and the toxic family dynamics are severed. But how does a top sales rep ensure this walkout is permanent? And what final, strategic move will Wynter execute to show her family that her hard-won triumph, and not their inherited entitlement, is the ultimate source of power? The silence in the car was deafening, yet liberating. It was the sound of my own self-determination. Every mile driven was a mile away from their toxic dynamics and the legacy of inherited pain. My professional triumph felt concrete, palpable. I had used my final act of precision to cut the cord, securing my immediate freedom. I thought of my father's threat and Madison's casual entitlement. Their inability to see my integrity and skill as anything other than a disposable asset had always been the harsh truth. That public judgment was the final betrayal I needed to fully validate my strategy. The $50 bond was still a powerful symbol of their contempt. I called David. His steady voice was the final reassurance. He didn't offer blame or panic, he offered a welcome home. You did the right thing, Wynter. Your determination and solvency are yours alone. You don't need their shallow approval to build your new beginning. His simple acceptance washed away years of emotional pain. The walkout was phase 1. Phase 2 required leveraging my skill to make this separation absolute. Their entitlement meant they would expect me to fail. I would ensure my triumph was undeniable. My true asset was my proven ability to execute. David and I were finally partners in dynamics built on mutual respect and shared goals. That foundation of integrity was worth more than any inherited legacy. I acknowledged the lingering pain, the residual sting of decades of judgment. It wasn't gone, but it was distant, like a scar that reminds you of a battle won. My self-determination was my ultimate defense. They believed their family name held power over me. They were wrong. My decision had stripped them of their primary emotional lever. Their old dynamics were collapsing, and I was watching it happen from a safe distance. The lights of Detroit started appearing on the horizon, a beacon of my new beginning. I was coming home to a life built on my own skill and determination. The journey wasn't over, but the most difficult step had been taken with cold, calculated precision. I had won the first battle for freedom. But for a true family revenge story, winning the battle isn't enough. You have to win the war, and sometimes, that means using your determination and strategy to ensure your old legacy can never interfere with your new one. The drive to Detroit was my declaration of independence. But to truly sever a toxic legacy built on entitlement and betrayal, you must cut the financial cord they still believe connects you. What final, brilliantly calculated strategy will Wynter execute, using her professional precision, to ensure her family can never again challenge her solvency or her self-determination? The silence of my Detroit penthouse was the backdrop to my final strategy. My mother called daily, her voice laced with victimhood and thinly veiled judgment. I knew their ultimate leverage was the inherited trust fund I hadn't touched. It was time to use my skill for the most important precision move of my life. My mother's call finally delivered the ultimatum. Wynter, if you don't return to Ohio, we will permanently freeze your portion of the family legacy trust. Your little sales triumph won't cover that kind of solvency. You must return and beg for our approval. We are your family connection, and we hold the power. My mother's threat was based on a faulty premise, that I needed their asset. I smiled. I didn't need to beg, I needed to close. The years of betrayal and pain had prepared me for this negotiation. Mom, you are operating with outdated information. My $10,000 bonus and current solvency were invested into the Detroit penthouse with David. The house is paid for, leveraging my personal asset and skill. Your threat is irrelevant to my financial freedom. Furthermore, my firm's counsel prepared the final papers. The funds you are threatening to freeze, my inheritance from Grandma, have been legally signed over to a Detroit-based charity in Madison's name. This ensures my integrity and provides Madison with a permanent, public legacy. The line went silent, a shock deeper than any pain they had inflicted. The charity? Why Madison's name? Wynter, you betrayed the family dynamics. You can't throw away that entitlement. We expected your blame and return. Her voice trailed off, realizing the harsh truth. They had lost their ultimate asset, Mom. The money wasn't worth the price of my self-determination. Madison has the name and the pretense now. I have my freedom. Please don't call this number again. The negotiation is closed. I hung up the phone, a final, definitive period on their judgment and my old legacy. The negotiation is closed. Wynter has secured her freedom and inverted the family's legacy using cold, hard precision. But how will the family's ultimate entitlement and pretense shatter when they discover the extent of the public judgment and permanent loss of power delivered by the daughter they scorned? The receiver clicked. Silence. It was the deepest breath I'd taken in 20 years. David walked in, immediately sensing the shift. I didn't need to explain the precision of the move or the family's crumbling dynamics. The finality of the act brought a sudden, overwhelming pain, years of betrayal surfacing at once. David simply held me. His embrace was the tangible opposite of their constant judgment and conditional approval. It's over, Wynter. You are free. Your integrity is yours. You walked away with your solvency and your soul intact. They hold no power here. I finally let the tears fall, not tears of blame or regret, but the release of decades of holding my breath. I told him about assigning the inheritance to charity in Madison's name. It was the perfect, final act of determination, trading their entitlement for my self-determination. That was the most brilliant move. You didn't just walk away, you gave their pretense a public face of charity. That's a total triumph, babe. Your real asset isn't cash, it's the skill and strategy to make moves like that. That's why you're building a real new beginning. The conversation shifted from the old pain to the future connection. Our shared goals, built on mutual integrity, were the real asset I had secured. The $50 bond now seemed like a ridiculous footnote to a massive corporate merger. Old legacy dissolved, new enterprise formed. I don't think they'll ever understand. But I don't care anymore, David. I finally accepted the harsh truth that their pretense was their prison. They can keep their name and their judgment. I have the freedom and the ability to define my own legacy. The suspense wasn't over. The family hadn't yet seen the public charity documents, the final, humiliating blow to their entitlement. But my mind was already past the revenge stories. It was focused on securing the final financial moves to ensure our new beginning was absolutely impervious to their future attempts at control. The emotional battle is won, but the public fallout has yet to erupt. How will Wynter's toxic family react when the world discovers that the daughter they belittled, the one with the $50 bond, used her professional skill and precision to turn their own cherished legacy into a humiliating monument to her self-determination? The Detroit skyline was a canvas of my triumph. My solvency was secured, the legacy of abuse severed. Yet, a faint pain lingered, the cost of cutting off 20 years of toxic connection. The precision of my strategy could protect my asset, but not erase the ache. You haven't checked the news once, have you? You're ignoring the fallout. You won, Wynter. Total freedom. Why the sadness? His quiet judgment saw the harsh truth. The girl who just wanted her parents' approval was still grieving the betrayal. The pain isn't from losing the family dynamics, David. It's from realizing they never existed. The pretense was the whole thing. The $50 bond, the frozen trust, the entitlement, it was all designed to keep me in their version of the legacy. I'm mourning the family I invented in my head, not the one that existed. I consciously let go of the last vestiges of blame. My skill for strategizing was forged in their fire. I was no longer an asset to be controlled, but a force of self-determination. That charity move was the ultimate assertion of your integrity. You repurposed their attempted weapon, the trust, into something positive. You proved that your connection to your values is stronger than their power over their legacy. This penthouse, my job, my freedom, it's not the triumph. The triumph is knowing they will never use my success against me again. We will build our new beginning on transparency, without the constant need for approval. The story of family betrayal was ending. The suspense remained for the public fallout, but for me, the central conflict was resolved. The feeling wasn't pure joy, it was a profound, quiet peace, the realization that the hard-won precision of my life strategy had led to true, unburdened freedom. My greatest skill will now be used to nurture our life, not destroy theirs. The personal conflict is resolved, and Wynter has found true freedom. But the final chapter requires public accountability. What will the family do and say when the news breaks, exposing their entitlement and pretense to the world, securing Wynter's professional triumph and absolute self-determination as the final, lasting legacy? The local news announced Phase 3 had detonated. A massive, anonymous donation secured the Madison Family Outreach Center, ensuring the legacy of their name. The anonymous donor, it was you. You used your professional skill and precision to publicly brand it with the name they prize most. It's the ultimate strategic triumph. I felt a detached sense of power. They had tried to hold the asset over me with their entitlement and threats to my solvency. I had proved their power was illusory, repurposing their legacy into my own self-determination. The family issued a statement of shock and gratitude, the delicious pretense of their public face. They couldn't disown the gift without disowning their prized name. The harsh truth was, I had just secured their social legacy. By giving away the money, I took away their greatest power, the right to threaten my future. Their entitlement was chained to my charitable act. The Ohio number rang, a desperate plea laced with blame and conditional approval. I let it ring. My final judgment was silence. They can't even publicly express the pain this causes them. You shifted the entire family dynamics. The greatest victory was the realization that my integrity was utterly safe. The betrayal was avenged, not with destruction, but with calculated precision. Their Ohio mansion was now a museum of their pretense, cracked wide open by the harsh truth of my self-determination. The deepest cut was for Madison. Her entitlement was trapped by my precision move, forced to wear my triumph like a gilded cage. I took David's hand. The true asset is this. No more judgment, no more conditional approval. Just our connection and our shared new beginning. This was the emotional solvency money could never buy. My strategy was complete. The pain was replaced entirely by a profound sense of closure. I was no longer defined by their legacy. The camera panned away from the news report. This is the harsh truth of a family revenge story. The ultimate power isn't inherited entitlement, it's earned skill and unbreakable integrity. The final strike has landed, and the harsh truth is exposed. But what does life look like when you've achieved absolute freedom? Join me for the final resolution, where we see Wynter build her new beginning, a legacy defined entirely by her own self-determination and the quiet triumph of a life finally lived without judgment or blame. The silence was now absolute, no threatening calls, no thinly veiled judgment. The emotional battlefield was finally clean. We focused on the precision of our new beginning, simple things like wedding details and career milestones. The old legacy faded into a distant memory, a history book I no longer had to read. My professional triumph accelerated. Without the emotional drain of the family dynamics, my sales skill reached new heights. The money I earned wasn't just cash, it was confirmation of my self-determination. My solvency was now a fortress, impervious to their past entitlement or any future attempt at blame. David was my true asset. Our connection wasn't conditional, it was built on mutual integrity and the shared acceptance of the harsh truth about my past. He helped me see the final pain wasn't the betrayal, but the time wasted seeking their shallow approval. That realization brought complete closure. Our wedding was the ultimate statement, a deliberate choice of a new beginning. No guests from Ohio. It was our celebration of freedom, earned through determination and strategy. The $50 bond was a forgotten artifact. My new legacy was not inherited pretense, but a life built on earned skill. The Madison legacy is finally behind me. My new beginning is built on integrity and solvency. But for a final, satisfying resolution, what is the fate of the family I left behind? And will they ever truly grasp the harsh truth of their own toxic dynamics? Life in Detroit had achieved a blissful, boring routine. My solvency was stable, the connection with David deep, and the quiet triumph of our new beginning felt complete. Then, the package arrived. An oversized, formal envelope with an Ohio seal. My blood ran cold, a residue of old pain. The suspense was back, but this time, I knew I held the power. David carefully sliced the envelope, handing me a legal petition and a handwritten letter from my mother. It wasn't laced with judgment or outright blame, it was a desperate plea for financial intervention. Their family company, the cornerstone of their entire legacy and entitlement, was facing total, immediate collapse. The harsh truth of their situation was stunningly clear. My strategic withdrawal hadn't just secured my freedom. It had accelerated their demise. Without my sales, and with Madison's unchecked entitlement and lack of skill, their toxic dynamics had imploded. They were turning to the former asset for rescue, offering conditional approval in return. Don't even entertain it, Wynter. They don't deserve your time or your solvency. They are trying to draw you back into their pain and blame. This is the final test of your determination. Remember your self-determination. He was utterly protective of my new life and integrity. I picked up the letter again. I was no longer the girl craving their approval. I was a top executive assessing a failed competitor's merger request. Their desperation was palpable. I felt a calm, cold precision as I read the laughable terms. Return to Ohio and will grant you a majority legacy share. They still operate with the old calculus. They don't understand that their legacy is worthless to me. The Madison name is permanently tied to the charity I founded with the money they tried to control. My new beginning is based on my own triumph, not their crumbling pretense. This letter is absolute proof that my strategic skill destroyed their final asset. You owe them nothing. Zero. But for the sake of your own peace, how do you want the final record to read? Use your precision one last time to define the finality of your separation. David was right. I wouldn't rescue them, but I needed to send a final, professional invoice for my silence. I drafted a concise legal response. I would guarantee their employees severance pay, but only if the family, including Madison, legally relinquished any future claim over my life, my financial solvency, or my connection to David. This final act was boundary setting, not about seeking pain or revenge. The legacy they offered was debt, the legacy I built was pure freedom. This is the final judgment. I am purchasing my absolute silence and ensuring their public blame is minimalized, but only under my terms. I sealed the response and put the original letter through the shredder. No more suspense. The chapter is closed. Forever, the corporate merger is complete. Old legacy dissolved, new enterprise formed. I won the war, proving that earned integrity always defeats inherited entitlement. The real story was the construction of my solvency and the unbreakable connection. The ultimate power isn't inherited entitlement, it's earned skill, unwavering self-determination, and the final invoice for freedom. The Madison family's final, desperate attempt failed, securing Wynter's freedom forever. The war is won. But as Wynter walks away from the toxic legacy and into a brilliant new beginning, what is the ultimate moral of this story of betrayal, skill, and self-determination? Months later, the Ohio crisis was a blip. David and I walked by the river, the Detroit skyline reflecting my new perspective. The greatest lesson was the knowledge that freedom requires constant maintenance. My emotional solvency was paramount. The irony is, my family taught me the value of skill by constantly dismissing mine. They were so blinded by their inherited entitlement that they never realized they were trading their only source of true solvency, my competence, for the temporary power of control. They focused on the name, the empty legacy. You focused on building a real asset, this life, this connection. Your final act of precision was the ultimate proof of your integrity, something they never valued. The last vestiges of pain from the initial betrayal had vanished. Accepting the harsh truth of their toxic dynamics was the final act of self-determination required to achieve absolute closure. My entire strategy was about transforming a destructive judgment into a constructive life skill. I thought about Madison, perhaps still trying to uphold the collapsing pretense. She never learned that true power comes from earned integrity. My greatest triumph was the realization that I am entirely, completely enough. My self-determination is the final measure of my success. Our new beginning is our real legacy. It's built on mutual respect and shared determination, the very dynamics the Madison family never understood. You achieved more than solvency, Wynter. You achieved peace. That quiet confidence, that is the final asset you won. The case was closed, the lesson learned, and the future wide open. So, what is the moral of the story? It's simple. When faced with toxic entitlement and judgment, your greatest skill is self-determination. Your greatest asset is your integrity. And the only legacy that truly matters is the freedom you build for yourself. The story of the Madison family legacy ends here. Wynter has found her solvency and her peace. Thank you for following the journey of betrayal, skill, and self-determination. If this story proved one thing, it's that true power is always earned. The silence was heavy, the calm before the final storm. I felt no suspense, only unwavering resolve. My entire strategy boiled down to this: protection over approval. My offer was non-negotiable. Severance for employees only if they signed away all future claims to my life, my solvency, and our connection. This was the highest price for my silence, the loss of their right to judgment and blame. Your precision forced them to choose between their dwindling legacy and their lingering ability to inflict pain. You chose integrity over their entitlement. That's the real triumph. I saw their power was entirely dependent on my compliance. I flipped the script. I was the architect of their closure, not the victim of their betrayal. My solvency isn't just about money, David. It's the ability to say no without fear of financial or emotional judgment. That is the ultimate asset. The phone rang. It was a lawyer. They accepted my terms. It was official. They had traded their final piece of power for my silence. Hearing that lawyer confirm the waiver signature was the quietest moment of triumph, the formal acknowledgement of my self-determination. It's over, Wynter. Really over. The war was won with precision and unwavering determination. I looked out at the city I chose. The legacy I cared about wasn't the Madison name, it was the integrity of my work and the connection with David. My greatest skill wasn't sales, it was self-determination. The story of family revenge focuses on the enemy's destruction. Mine focuses on the reconstruction of the self. I protected my future, my solvency, and my peace by drawing a final, unwavering line. That is the ultimate act of power. With the final legal documents signed and their last attempt thwarted, Wynter has achieved complete and irreversible freedom. The financial and emotional war is unequivocally over. Now, after defining her ultimate solvency and legacy, let's look at the final, profound moral of her story and what viewers can learn from her strategic triumph. The waivers were signed, the severance paid. My role was done. The Madison legacy imploded publicly. We watched the news cycle from Detroit, a final, detached view of their consequences. The noise was immense, but I felt nothing. The once mighty Madison enterprise, a pillar of Ohio entitlement and business skill for 3 generations, has officially filed for bankruptcy. The local community expresses shock regarding the speed of the collapse and the loss of hundreds of jobs. My family was expert at projecting blame. The media immediately seized on Madison's lack of skill and unchecked entitlement. Whispers of a mysterious betrayal surfaced, suggesting internal dynamics were the real cause. My silence was the ultimate strategic asset. The family had paid a fortune for me not to reveal the harsh truth. They sabotaged my career and fostered a toxic environment built on judgment. My precision protected me while exposing their fundamental flaws. The reproach was twofold. The old guard lamented the loss of the revered Madison name, mourning the loss of pretense. The public, however, offered sharp judgment on their failure, calling it the inevitable collapse of generational entitlement unsupported by actual skill. They lost the company name, the only thing they ever valued. Their legacy is now defined by debt and disgrace. That final, public triumph of truth was something I didn't even have to initiate. Their own toxic dynamics carried it out. The noise will fade, Wynter. The only legacy that matters is the one you are building here. You protected your integrity and your self-determination. That decision is the loudest statement they will ever hear. It's the difference between earned skill and assumed power. I achieved financial and emotional solvency. The money I paid for severance was an investment in permanent freedom. I was finally impervious to their attempts at conditional approval or future financial pressure. My fortress was complete. I pictured Madison with detached pity. She was left only with her entitlement, which offered no comfort in bankruptcy. Her true pain was the realization that the power she abused was never real. She had nothing left to lose except the pretense she cherished. This is the final closure, David. They can judge me from Ohio, but their words have no jurisdiction here. Their judgment is just background noise, the dying echo of a toxic dynamics I escaped. I won the right to define my own reality. My focus shifted completely. Every moment of peace was a quiet, continuous act of triumph. The legacy of the Madison name was in tatters. My new beginning was vibrant, built on integrity and unwavering determination. The community didn't just reproach the collapse, they subtly reproached me for my silence. Why didn't Wynter step in? The society felt entitled to my aid, believing my solvency was public property. Further reports confirm Madison is facing individual civil lawsuits. Her personal legacy and remaining assets are tied up in litigation. The power she once wielded has completely evaporated, replaced by financial and legal chaos. The media noise eventually faded. David's presence was my greatest asset, the quiet anchor. You made the hard choice, Wynter. You chose integrity over their toxic dynamics. That's all the approval you ever needed. My family taught me connection was conditional. David taught me it was foundational, an amplifier of power and my right to self-determination. My financial solvency secured my freedom, but our emotional solvency secured my peace. Knowing you never relied on their pretense is the ultimate form of trust. The legal documents confirmed it. The closure is absolute. Now, we celebrate the fact that you built this new life, using nothing but your earned skill. David neutralized their final weapon, the fear of isolation and judgment. This is the real legacy, isn't it? Not a name, not a company, but this, a life where my worth is defined by my actions, supported by a genuine connection. The pain of the initial betrayal faded entirely, replaced by the profound security of knowing I was valued. David was the proof that choosing self-determination leads to genuine connection. You were the one who drew the line, Wynter. You applied your formidable business skill not for money, but for freedom. You designed this life, you enforced the terms, and you earned the right to this peace. The true asset wasn't my portfolio, it was the ability to distinguish between destructive entitlement and constructive connection. David was my greatest triumph. My determination to be free was the only leverage I needed. Thank you for never asking me to choose them. The support of an ally was essential, but the final, transformative act belonged to Wynter alone. With her fortress of solvency and integrity complete, what is the ultimate, non-negotiable moral and strategic takeaway that viewers must learn from this ultimate act of self-determination? You were the one who drew the line, Wynter. You applied your formidable business skill not for money, but for freedom. You designed this life, you enforced the terms, and you earned the right to this peace. The true asset wasn't my portfolio, it was the ability to distinguish between destructive entitlement and constructive connection. David was my greatest triumph. My determination to be free was the only leverage I needed. Thank you for never asking me to choose them. The support of an ally was essential, but the final, transformative act belonged to Wynter alone. With her fortress of solvency and integrity complete, what is the ultimate, non-negotiable moral and strategic takeaway that viewers must learn from this ultimate act of self-determination? I learned the final triumph is often the quietest. It's not the soundbite on the news, it's the profound lack of pain when remembering the harsh truth. Their memory became a dull fact, stripped of emotional power. From Detroit, Ohio seemed impossibly distant, a land governed by obsolete dynamics and decaying pretense. My greatest asset is no longer my financial portfolio. It is my internal fortitude, the unwavering determination to protect my peace. That is the one form of power they can never take back, because it was earned, not inherited. I see your legacy in the future, Wynter. It's built on the integrity of your decisions, not the drama of your past. We are co-architects of this next chapter. And its pure, unadulterated new beginning. Every contract I sign, every check I write, is a daily act of self-determination. It's the silent proof that my skill and solvency are mine, and mine alone. I now live a life where my choices are truly free. The old pain served its purpose. It taught me the cost of conditional approval. Now, that lesson is integrated, leaving behind only the cold, hard precision required to maintain my boundary. I trade the fleeting triumph of revenge for lasting peace. The absence of inherited entitlement is the ultimate sign of my freedom. I exist outside their zero-sum game, building value instead of competing for limited power. My life is a testament to the superiority of earned skill over inherited pretense. They confused power with control over others. I defined power as control over self. Control over my finances, my emotions, and my narrative. This self-determination is the one victory that can never be reversed. The foundation is set. The new life is flourishing. The saga of betrayal and revenge is complete. But what is the single, non-negotiable strategic lesson from Wynter's journey that you must apply to your own life? I had successfully neutralized the family threat, but the echoes of the past still resonated occasionally. Months later, at a conference, I saw Sarah, a familiar face from the old Ohio life. The interaction was polite, yet instantly governed by strategic distance. Wynter. I can't believe the news. The collapse was brutal. How is Madison doing? Everyone back home feels that maybe if you hadn't left, if you had just provided some skill, Sarah. My departure was the logical consequence of the Madison dynamics. I am sorry for the local job losses, but my integrity would not allow me to save the perpetrators of my own pain. That is the harsh truth I paid to protect, but your asset, your knowledge. That was their only hope. You held the key to their solvency. Why prioritize your personal judgment over the Madison legacy? That was always the family pretense. I didn't prioritize my judgment, Sarah. I prioritized my freedom. They confused control over others with power. I defined power as control over self. My solvency was never their property, only my determination. Madison, she's broken. The entitlement is still there, but the power is gone. She is left only with the debt and the lawsuits. There's no triumph in watching that, Wynter. I feel neither triumph nor pain, Sarah. Just peace. My emotional investment in them concluded the day they signed the severance. Their downfall is a legal event, not a personal one. My only focus is on my new beginning. I understood her perspective. She still viewed the family through the lens of shared social pretense. But for me, the betrayal had served its purpose. It revealed the harsh truth and earned me my freedom. The relationship was honestly cool. I heard about your charity. It's constructive. Unlike everything else connected to the Madison name now. It's hard to believe that this integrity came from the old dynamics. It didn't come from the old dynamics, Sarah. It came from my determination to reject them. My charity is built on earned skill and transparent solvency. Their legacy was built on inherited entitlement and managed pretense. The conversation ended as it began, civil yet distant. I offered no comfort, no approval, and no false empathy. I simply stated the harsh truth and moved on. The past was acknowledged, but its power over me was permanently extinct. I regret nothing. The precision required to execute my exit and secure my solvency was my ultimate masterpiece. Every waiver, every payment, every silence, it all led to this freedom. David's glance from across the room was the only approval I needed. It was a silent confirmation, the final loose end tied, the fortress secured. The old world was now just a professional acquaintance, easily dismissed. This final interaction cemented the moral of the story. You must enforce your boundaries, even when society or old friends demand you save your abusers. The price of integrity is worth the ultimate freedom. But if self-determination is the key to escaping a toxic family, what is the single, non-negotiable strategic blueprint, the actionable steps, that our viewers must master to achieve the same total, final, and irreversible solvency? The ultimate measure of my solvency wasn't the bank balance, but the public recognition of my earned skill. I accepted an industry award, a moment of pure triumph, achieved without any Madison approval or pretense. This award isn't for a project, David. It's for integrity. It's proof that operating with transparency and skill builds a stronger legacy than operating with inherited entitlement and toxic dynamics. We celebrated with a trip I designed, a reward built on my determination. Standing on the deck of a yacht in the Aegean, I realized this freedom was the true severance payment. No strings, no future judgment. Look at you, Wynter. The woman who walked away from betrayal and built this. The ghosts are gone. The memory of the pain is just knowledge now. You truly achieved closure. The greatest asset I gained was complete trust in my own determination and precision. I no longer fear the unknown because I know my skill and my integrity will always guarantee my solvency and my power. They thought they could use conditional approval to keep me tethered. They never understood that when you provide your own solvency, you gain absolute self-determination. Their power over me was an illusion I chose to dismantle. Back in Detroit, the charity expanded. Every new location, every successful program, was a monument to the antithesis of the Madison pretense. This was my constructive answer to their destructive entitlement. You didn't just win, Wynter. You won right. You used your skill to secure your integrity, not your vengeance. The legacy you are building now will outlive their name by generations. I no longer cared about the media judgment or the social reproach. Their words were the faint background noise of a world I deliberately exited. My self-determination was my shield, my freedom was my domain. The ultimate strategic move wasn't a counterattack, but the perfect withdrawal. Precision in exit secured absolute solvency. The moment I became non-dependent, I became invincible to their toxic dynamics. I inherited nothing but pain and betrayal. But I earned freedom, solvency, integrity, and power. My earned legacy is infinitely more valuable than their crumbling, inherited entitlement and managed pretense. To the future, Wynter. To the quiet triumph built on skill and determination. May this new beginning last forever, to the final, irreversible victory over conditional approval. The story of my escape is complete. But the blueprint for your self-determination is the most crucial takeaway. What is the final, undeniable moral of this journey of skill, integrity, and ultimate freedom? We've closed the book on the Madison legacy. But this isn't just a story of revenge, it's a blueprint. Now, let's talk about you. How do you secure the same total, irreversible freedom and solvency? Lesson 1. Financial solvency is absolute power. Never confuse inherited entitlement with earned asset. Your ability to walk away, your determination to be non-dependent, is the ultimate leverage against toxic dynamics. Lesson 2. Define success by integrity, not approval. Conditional approval is a weapon. You must set your own metric. My success was saying no to projects that violated my integrity. That is true self-determination. Lesson 3. Execute your exit with precision. My strategic withdrawal, the waivers, the silence, the cold precision, was my masterpiece. Emotional decisions lead to pain. Strategic decisions guarantee freedom. Lesson 4. Build a constructive legacy. Use your skill for good, not vengeance. And finally, Lesson 5. Enforce the final boundary. The line must be final. Do not let external judgment force you back to the toxic dynamics.